What I would like to do is really walk you through my experience over several decades on what I see as the talent landscape and the evolution of the industry. Needless to say, I think all of you recognize that when we started 2 or 3 decades ago, things were very different. I still remember my first meeting with F.C. Kohli when he was the MD of TCS way back. And when I see today, there's been such a huge change. So I want to walk you through about 7 or 8 points that strike me as something significant that's happening in the industry, and we need to take cognizance of that and prepare. The first thing that I notice is that hiring has become incredibly difficult. If I go to a campus event, and I'm talking about the top institutions of the country, which would include the IITs, I can tell you with confidence that if I interview 15, probably will be able to hire 1. So the success rate of campuses are, if you go to any of the institutes, sometimes when we hire 2 or 3, they declare it's a mega success. And that's really alarming. We'll talk about how to mitigate those issues, but these are my perspectives and also perspectives shared by many of my colleagues in other similar companies. So if you think about the whole process of hiring people, 5 or 6 of us who travel to one part of the country, go by plane, stay in a hotel, it costs lakhs of rupees, and then we come back, and many times we come back with 0. 0 is not an unusual situation. And even if you hired 1 or 2, it's completely disproportional to the size of the country and the amount of money we spend. So what is going wrong? If you ask them standard questions from the textbook, they will answer you in a blink of an eye. But if you ask them to solve a little tricky problem, they're going to struggle. Vast majority of them. Not all, but vast majority of them. And to my great astonishment, nobody could answer that. And I thought this is an aberration. And I started asking this question to many people. You know, if it is a point, 1, 2 of them are starting here, and if it's circular, it's 1 step. You would essentially make 1 step and see if it's closed or not. So it's 1 operation, you would know. And many people didn't either understand the question or couldn't do this. So that sort of convinced me that we are focusing on rote learning. And number 2, when students are coming out of entering the colleges, they're so burnt out, they're essentially losing all interest in studying and mastering a subject. Now, to make things worse, our current, or not worse, I should say, to make things more complex, today the technology is more about stitching code. Very little code is being written from scratch. For obvious reasons, the industry is more than several decades mature. There's a massive open source community. We rely, as you know, almost entirely on open source. And so therefore, we need capabilities of people to figure out what is out there, how do you stitch them together, what are the licenses, do they work together, and all of that stuff. And I think you will all agree that reading code is much harder than writing code. So what is taught in colleges and universities is about writing elementary code, and this aspect is not emphasized. So when we hire candidates from the college, what happens is the first year, and this is my perception or experience, the first year they're so burnt out, they're kind of taking it easy and sort of recuperating from the grueling process of admission. The last year they're kind of checked out, they think that they're done, at least the last 6 months. And anyway, the first year they teach things like basic physics, chemistry, and stuff like that, which is a repetition of what gets done in class 12. Now, if you look at that, so essentially they study for 2 years, and many of them are not fully charged up, thinking that, oh, I'll catch up later. And that's the dangerous trap they fall in. So they think they can master everything in the last 3 months, and that's not going to happen. So it has to start on day 1. On the day 1 when they start college, if they start mastering the subjects they're learning and practicing, really looking at the edge cases, looking at how do you scale this algorithm when you do, for example, in very, very large scale, cloud scale problems, all the stuff that is taught in the books is really toys, are really toys. They don't work in reality. How do you distribute them? How do you do the orders of complexity, how they grow with the size of the problem? And it's almost like preparing for the Olympics in 3 months. You're not going to get a medal. So there's a saying which says, I think it's from Abhinav Bindra, a lovely statement that the preparation for Olympics starts when the first Olympic ends. So, which is essentially 4 years. And we are essentially guilty of not recognizing that and thinking that we will score a goal in the last 3 months. And so in the last 3 months, maybe 1 or 2 candidates can do that, but a vast majority cannot.